We now are going to trace this renal artery. This is basically the start of the blood flow. So remember, there's one way into the kidney and there's two ways out. So this is the formation of urine as it's going into the kidney. First of all, it's going to enter here. This red structure is the renal artery. The purple structure is your renal vein. And here's your ureter. It's going to go into the renal artery here. And as soon as it branches, we have a branch here and a branch here. That's number 20. That is considered a segmental artery here, once the renal artery divides. After that, you've got this artery and vein that are going in between the columns, within the columns. It is now called an interlobar artery and vein. Those are those structures here, once they're in the columns. Once they go there, out of there, they're going to arc over the top of the pyramid. Those are called your arcuate arteries and veins. From here, they go out to the edge of the kidney, where they're going to get filtered. When they're out here at the cortex, these are called your cortical radiate arteries and veins. These are going to branch out a little bit further, and as you can see, off of the cortical radiate arteries and veins, we now have this red structure coming off to the side. That is considered an afferent arteriole. So we've gotten too small, so we're going to kind of expand that area and make it a little bit bigger. It's going to look like this. Again, here's the pyramid, this big structure here. We have it arcing over the top. So this is your arcuate artery and vein right here. Coming off of that, it's going into the cortex. That is my cortical radiate artery right here. And you can see all these branches coming off to the side. These branches are now called your afferent arterioles. And you can see they're going into this little blob here, a glob of tissue, which is now called a glomerulus. That is where the arteriole kind of tangles itself up, turns into a knot, and that's where it filters out and becomes, it's going to become filtrate to become urine. So this blob of red is called your glomerulus. This white structure surrounding it is called Bowman's capsule. So you see Bowman's capsules all throughout here. You can see that it's gotten too small, so we need to expand it a little bit more. So this is going to be an enlargement of Bowman's capsule. So this structure here is Bowman's capsule. This blob right here is called your glomerulus. This is your afferent arteriole coming in to your glomerulus. This is your efferent arteriole coming out. So whatever blood stays in that doesn't get filtered comes back here in the efferent arteriole. The glomerulus, you can see that there's some little star-shaped cells hanging out there. Those are called your podocytes. They have little feet. They block the openings and allow certain filtrate to come in and certain things to stay out. Those are called the podocytes. Again, the white structure is Bowman's capsule. However, if he tags the space where the pointer is, he's looking for Bowman's space. After the filtrate comes through, comes out of the glomerulus, goes past the podocytes, it's going to enter into the Bowman's space, and then that's going to be absorbed into this white structure, which is called Bowman's capsule. After it's absorbed there, it enters into this section right here, which is called the proximal convoluted tubule. Now we're going to continue to trace out the flow of urine. And this now, again, here's Bowman's capsule. We're getting a little bit larger in scope here. So once it enters into Bowman's capsule, we have this entire structure here. This is the filtering part of your kidney, which is called your nephron, or it's called a nephron, which absorbs and gets rid of all your waste and your fluids. That's the job of the urinary system. So once it enters into the Bowman's capsule, it's going to enter to this little maze of stuff. It's all turned in on itself. This is called the proximal convoluted tubule. It's the first section coming off of Bowman's capsule. It's proximal convoluted tubule. This entire structure, this whole loop, is called the loop of Henle. The whole thing is called the loop of Henle. However, there are several sections to the loop of Henle. If you remember, you just wrote those down. This first section you can see is a lot thicker. So this is the thick segment of the descending limb. You get a little bit further, you can see that the line has gotten smaller, so that's the thin segment of the descending limb. Down here at the very base, we'll just call that the loop of Henle. That's the actual loop. And as it comes back up, it is now called the thin segment of the ascending limb. And you can see the line gets a little bit thicker. It is now the thick segment of the ascending limb. And then it starts to enter this structure right here. You can see that as this thick segment comes up, it's coming very close to Bowman's capsule. This area right here, where the distal convoluted tubule comes close to the Bowman's capsule, is called the macula densa, right here. And inside the macula densa is the juxtaglomerular apparatus. I'll show you that in a second. So here's the thick segment. It turns into the distal convoluted tubule, the macula densa, and this structure right here, this is all the distal convoluted tubule. That's going to enter into this large white structure here, which is called a collecting duct. The collecting duct enters into the pyramid, and it now goes into the point of the pyramid. That's called the papilla. Now we're on our way out of the kidney. From the papilla, it enters into the minor calyx, goes into the major calyx, goes into your pelvis, and goes out of the kidney via the ureter. That's the pathway for urine in the body. That's it.